1990 WWE pay-per-views were a roller coaster of big moments buried under sloppy spots and questionable decisions. The Royal Rumble dragged with messy eliminations. WrestleMania VI had the Hogan vs. Warrior main event, but a weak undercard. SummerSlam featured title changes and chaos, and Survivor Series ended in confusing eliminations. Huge stars, high stakes, and yet every pay-per-views had its problems. Here's everything wrong with WWE's 1990 pay-per-views.
We're ready to rumble! We're ready for the Royal Rumble!
January 21st, 1990. The Royal Rumble hit Orlando Arena, Florida. The crowd was buzzing, the air electric, and everyone knew the 30-man over-the-top rope match was coming. But before that chaos, the undercard tried to set the tone and didn't always succeed. The night kicked off with the Bushwhackers, Luke and Butch, storming into the ring against the fabulous Rougeau brothers, Jock and Raymond, managed by Jimmy Hart. The crowd loved the chaos, and the match ended with Butch pinning Raymond Rougeau following the battering ram. While it had energy and fun, the tone was uneven. The Bushwhackers' slapstick, comedic style clashed with the Rougeaus' more serious heel persona. It was entertaining for laughs, but failed to establish serious stakes for the pay-per-view. A competitive, intense opening tag match could have hooked viewers right away, instead of relying on novelty humor. Following that, Brutus Beefcake made his entrance to face the genius, Lanny Poffo. The two exchanged quick drop kicks, eye rakes, and near falls. Beefcake set up the barber's chair and looked poised to win, only for the referee to be knocked out and Mr. Perfect to interfere, delivering a perfect plex on Beefcake. The match ended in a double disqualification, leaving it feeling overbooked and messy. A clean finish or a DQ with clear storyline consequences would have preserved the match's momentum and allowed both wrestlers to look strong. Meanwhile, the submission match between Ronnie Garvin and Greg the Hammer Valentine demanded attention. Valentine came out on top, forcing Garvin to submit to the figure 4 leg lock. The match had believable intensity, with counters, stiff strikes, and back-and-forth grappling. But the booking minimized its impact. There was no follow-up to elevate either man further at that moment, and the feud quietly fizzled. This could have been a match that shifted the undercard narrative. Instead, it stood alone, impressive but ultimately isolated. Later, Jim Duggan stepped into the ring to face Big Boss Man, accompanied by Slick. Duggan's brawling style met Boss Man's brute power, and the match ended in a double disqualification after both men ignored the referee's instructions and brawled outside. While DQs can further feuds, here it stalled momentum. The audience was denied a decisive conclusion, and the pacing slowed before the main event. A clean finish or a more structured DQ could have maintained energy and built anticipation for the Rumble. Then the spotlight turned to the centerpiece of the night, the 30-man Royal Rumble match. It opened with two early entrants circling each other, exchanging strikes and testing the waters. Even from the start, near eliminations and quick counters created tension. Each wrestler had to balance offense with survival instincts, knowing a single mistake could end their night instantly. As more participants entered, the match exploded with energy. Mid-card and heavyweight wrestlers collided with high flyers and smaller competitors. Temporary alliances formed, allowing underdogs to survive against bigger stars. Rivalries flared as mini-battles broke out across the ring. Former tag partners, longtime enemies, and surprise confrontations added narrative layers. The match wasn't just chaos, it was storytelling woven into athletic action. Eliminations drove suspense. Some were clean, others messy, requiring multiple wrestlers to pull an opponent back in. Near eliminations became recurring beats, with competitors teetering on the ropes before barely hanging on. High-risk maneuvers, dives over the top rope, shoulder block saves, and last-second reversals highlighted athleticism and kept the audience engaged. Despite a crowded ring, key sequences were always clear, with the audience focused on the central drama. By the midpoint, strategy and endurance came into play. Wrestlers had to conserve energy while hunting eliminations. Temporary alliances shifted and dissolved. Betrayals happened suddenly, and the psychology became clear. Underdogs drew cheers, dominant stars drew suspense or boos. Each entrant changed the dynamics, keeping viewers on the edge of their seats. As the Rumble approached its final stretch, the ring thinned and tension soared. Competitors balanced aggression with survival. Near eliminations were constant. A single slip could end someone's night. The crowd erupted for heroic saves and dramatic close calls. Every sequence felt meaningful, from a clever dodge to a high-impact throw. The final five came down to Hogan, Rick Rude, Hercules, the Barbarian, and Mr. Perfect. Hercules eliminated Barbarian, Rude eliminated Hercules, then Rude himself was accidentally eliminated when Perfect's rope pull backfired, and Hogan finished the job by tossing Perfect over the top rope. The finish pleased the audience but was predictable, highlighting a key flaw. There were no guaranteed stakes, and the potential to elevate a new star was wasted. Still, the match showcased the roster's depth. Veterans, heavyweights, underdogs, and high flyers all played their part. Temporary alliances, betrayals, high-risk maneuvers, and suspenseful near eliminations made it a memorable spectacle, even if the ending lacked surprise. Royal Rumble 1990 had moments of brilliance, but also notable issues. The Bushwhackers vs. Rougeaus lacked serious stakes. Beefcake vs. Genius was overbooked. Garvin vs. Valentine was strong, but the feud went nowhere. Duggan vs. Bossman stalled momentum, and the Rumble, while visually chaotic and exciting, relied on predictability rather than opportunity, missing a chance to elevate new talent. With tighter pacing, smarter booking, and higher stakes, this event could have been far more impactful. Still, it delivered enough excitement, drama, and athleticism to make it worth watching, particularly for fans who love chaos, high-risk maneuvers, and the spectacle of a massive over-the-top rope battle. WrestleMania VI Toronto Skydome was electric on April 1st, 1990. Over 67,000 roaring fans filled the arena, hungry for chaos, glory, and unforgettable moments. WrestleMania VI, billed as the ultimate challenge, promised a night where heroes and villains collided in high-stakes battles, title belts hung in the balance, and every match carried the weight of destiny. From the opening bell to the main event, the night was a whirlwind of athleticism, spectacle, and storytelling. A show that dazzled and thrilled, yet wasn't without its missteps in pacing and booking. The night officially opened with Rick Martel taking on Koko B. Ware. Martel, a seasoned technician, used methodical strikes and counters to wear down the high-energy Koko. The match ended with Martel forcing Koko to submit to the Boston Crab. On paper, it was a solid opener that established some early intensity. Yet, the match lacked a real hook for long-term storytelling. While both performers were talented, there was no follow-up angle, which meant the crowd got a good athletic showcase, but no lasting stakes. A slightly longer bout or a small storyline twist could have made this opener more memorable. Shortly after, Demolition, Axe and Smash faced the Colossal Connection, Andre the Giant and Haku, with Bobby Heenan, for the WWF Tag Team Championship. Demolition emerged victorious, finally claiming the titles. The match delivered what a tag team contest should: teamwork, strategy, and a decisive finish. The sight of Demolition toppling Andre and Haku gave fans a satisfying payoff. What went right was obvious: clean finish, stakes, and visual storytelling that rewarded the crowd. However, the pacing of the show meant this high-stakes moment wasn't fully capitalized on. Placing it closer to the main event or providing post-match fallout could have amplified its impact. Next up, Earthquake, accompanied by Jimmy Hart, squared off against Hercules. Earthquake's size and strength dominated the match, and the bout ended quickly with a pinfall. It delivered a brief, explosive spectacle, but in the context of a stacked card, the match felt like filler. Its brevity limited storytelling potential, and the Monster Heel's momentum could have been better utilized. A longer bout or some dramatic near falls would have heightened crowd investment. Brutus Beefcake took on Mr. Perfect with the Genius at ringside. Beefcake earned the victory via pinfall, a solid mid-card win. The match showcased some back-and-forth action, with both men demonstrating athleticism and timing. What went right was the competitive tone and the clean finish for Beefcake. Yet in hindsight, the outcome didn't significantly elevate him or alter Mr. Perfect's trajectory. Adding a post-match angle or interference could have created lasting tension. Then came Roddy Piper versus Bad News Brown, a feud-driven contest that ended in a double countout. The premise promised heat and tension, but the finish delivered neither. The double countout meant no definitive winner, leaving the storyline unresolved and the crowd wanting more. What went wrong here was obvious. A clear winner, DQ, or even post-match confrontation could have made this one of the more memorable bouts of the night. In tag team action, the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart dispatched the Bolsheviks, Nikolai Volkov and Boris Zukov, in a remarkably brief 19-second contest. On the plus side, the victory reaffirmed Hart Foundation's dominance. On the downside, the extreme brevity robbed the audience of a showcase of tag team skill, making it feel like a transitional filler match rather than a highlight. The Barbarian, under the guidance of Bobby Heenan, faced Tito Santana next. Barbarian's size advantage was decisive, and he earned the win. While the match provided some physical intensity, it suffered from brevity and a lack of story significance. As an undercard bout, it delivered action, but little narrative. A slightly extended match or teasing future storylines could have made it more impactful. One of the more unique bouts was the mixed tag match. Dusty Rhodes and Sapphire with Miss Elizabeth versus Randy Savage and Sensational Sherry. Dusty and Sapphire emerged victorious, providing a dynamic shift in pacing. What worked here was the novelty and emotional impact. A mixed tag was unusual and kept the audience engaged. What fell short was a lack of subsequent storyline follow-up. Sapphire's involvement could have led to a longer arc, but this match remained mostly a standalone spectacle. The Orient Express, Sato and Tanaka, with Mr. Fuji, faced the Rockers, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, in a tag match that ended in a countout. The Rockers brought high-flying energy, while Orient Express used crafty heel tactics. The countout finish, however, robbed the contest of a definitive payoff. Fans never got to see a clear winner, and the Rockers lost an opportunity for a career-boosting pinfall. A decisive finish would have made this a highlight rather than an afterthought. Hacksaw Jim Duggan battled Dino Bravo with Earthquake and Jimmy Hart, with Duggan emerging victorious. The match delivered gritty brawling in a contrast to the more stylized bouts on the card. Yet, as with other undercard matches, its impact on future storylines was minimal. Without follow-up angles, the contest served more as a filler than a momentum builder. The $1 Million Championship match saw Ted DiBiase with Virgil defeat Jake Roberts via countout. DiBiase maintained his cunning heel persona, while Roberts' toughness remained intact due to the non-pinfall loss. The match succeeded in character storytelling, but the countout finish felt weak for a WrestleMania-level showcase. A pinfall or DQ finish could have raised stakes and given the match a more lasting impression. Next, Big Boss Man defeated Akeem in a straightforward singles contest. This quick match gave fans a brief physical spectacle, but again lacked storyline follow-through or long-term significance. It was a solid display of strength and ring presence, but underutilized in the broader narrative. Rick Rude defeated Jimmy Snuka in another undercard singles match. Both men were veterans capable of compelling action, but the contest was brief and ultimately forgettable in the scope of the show. With so many matches packed into the card, this one did not have time to make a lasting impression. Finally, the card reached its monumental main event, The Ultimate Warrior, Intercontinental Champion versus Hulk Hogan, WWF Champion, in the historic title versus title match. Both men displayed intense energy, high-impact offense, and a carefully paced battle that spanned over 20 minutes. Warrior ultimately won, capturing the WWF Championship while retaining his Intercontinental title. This was a flawless main event in terms of stakes, drama, and crowd engagement. The clean finish delivered a shocking moment for fans and signaled a new era in WWE. There was little to critique here. The only minor note is that immediate post-match angles could have leveraged the moment even further. Looking back, WrestleMania VI was a mix of triumphs and minor flaws. The opening match with Rick Martel versus Koko B. Ware was a clean, decisive opener. Many undercard matches were functional but short, and several finishes, countouts, brief bouts, limited the overall impact. The main event and tag title change were clear successes, while novelty matches and mixed tags offered variety. Tighter pacing, slightly longer undercard bouts, and better use of storyline follow-up could have made this WrestleMania even stronger. In conclusion, WrestleMania VI delivered a memorable spectacle, crowned a new champion in Warrior, and featured strong performances across the card. But it also demonstrated the challenges of a stacked PPV. Pacing issues, brief undercard matches, and missed opportunities to elevate talent. The show remains iconic, yet a few tweaks could have made it a masterclass in booking and storytelling. SummerSlam 1990 exploded in Philadelphia on August 27th. The Spectrum shook with nearly 19,304 fans screaming, chanting, and ready for chaos. Titles were on the line, rivalries simmered to a boil, and every bell promised drama, upsets, and unforgettable moments. The night opened with Power and Glory, Hercules and Paul Roma storming the ring against the Rockers, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. The match lasted roughly 6 minutes, with fast tags, power moves, and a few flashy double-team maneuvers. Power and Glory eventually scored the win, but as an opener, it felt more like a warm-up than a statement. While the crowd enjoyed the energy, it lacked stakes, and the Rockers' high-flying agile style contrasted oddly with the brute force of their opponents. A match with more storyline weight or a clearer goal could have hooked viewers instantly and setting the tone for the rest of the evening. Next, the Intercontinental Championship was on the line, with Texas Tornado challenging Mr. Perfect. In just over 5 minutes, Tornado pulled off an upset, capturing the belt and sending the mid-card division into chaos. The victory was quick but effective, giving the show its first major pop and proving that surprises could happen early on. Tornado's athleticism and versatility contrasted sharply with Perfect's methodical, technical approach, creating a dynamic, short burst of drama. This match demonstrated how mid-card titles could elevate tension, but at just over 5 minutes, it barely scratched the surface of what could have been a more layered storytelling encounter. Then came a bizarre moment. Sensational Queen Sherri was scheduled to face Sapphire, but Sapphire never appeared. Sherri won by forfeit, leaving the fans confused and disappointed. No bell rang, no in-ring action occurred, and the crowd was denied an actual contest. This anticlimactic segment highlighted one of the dangers of relying on star power alone. Even with a stacked card, a no-show diminishes credibility. It was a reminder that attention to continuity and ensuring participants show up is critical to maintaining audience engagement, particularly on a major PPV stage. The Warlord, managed by Slick, then faced Tito Santana in a straight-up singles match. Warlord used his brute strength to dominate, winning in under 6 minutes. While the match was clean and functional, it felt like filler amidst higher-stakes contests. Santana showed glimpses of skill and agility, but the bout lacked storytelling depth and memorable moments. In a card featuring titles and big-name stars, the match came across as a placeholder, competent but ultimately forgettable. It served its purpose in pacing but missed an opportunity to elevate Santana's credibility or further develop the Warlord as a dominant force. Intensity returned when the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart challenged reigning champions Demolition in a 2 out of 3 falls match for the Tag Team Championship. Over 14+ minutes, the Harts displayed precision, teamwork, and strategic psychology. Every near fall created suspense, and each fall told a different story. Demolition's raw power versus the Harts' technical skill and quick tags. The final fall culminated in a decisive victory for the Hart Foundation, giving the audience a satisfying payoff and a memorable highlight of the night. This match demonstrated how tag team wrestling could combine storytelling, athleticism, and high stakes, making it arguably the best bout on the card. Jake the Snake Roberts faced Bad News Brown next, with Big Boss Man serving as the special guest referee. The match ended in disqualification, frustrating the audience by denying closure. Roberts showcased his methodical offense, Brown's intensity brought a menacing edge, and moments of physical danger elevated tension. However, the DQ finish felt like a narrative cop-out, failing to give either competitor a definitive win or loss. For viewers, it was a reminder that undercard storytelling must balance spectacle with a satisfying payoff or risk leaving fans with a sense of incompletion. Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Nikolai Volkov followed, defeating the Orient Express, Sato, and Tanaka in a short 3.5-minute tag bout. The match was brawling, heavy, and functional, providing a breather for the crowd while keeping the card moving. Duggan's over-the-top energy and Volkov's imposing presence made the pairing entertaining, but the bout lacked stakes and lasting impact. In a card filled with high-profile singles and championship matches, this match served its purpose as filler, maintaining momentum but unlikely to linger in memory. Randy Savage, accompanied by sensational Queen Sherri, then faced Dusty Rhodes. The match lasted under 10 minutes, with Savage scoring a quick victory. While both men brought charisma, storytelling ability, and in-ring presence, the bout was rushed. A longer encounter could have leveraged their contrasting styles, Rhodes' brawling and Savage's high-energy offense, to build tension, near falls, and dramatic storytelling. Instead, the match felt like a transitional segment, giving fans a momentary thrill but not leaving a lasting impression. One of the night's key attractions followed. Hulk Hogan, with Big Boss Man as outside enforcer, squared off against Earthquake. The bout ran 13 minutes and delivered chaos, heavy brawling, interference attempts, and multiple near falls. The match ended in a count-out victory for Hogan, a finish that preserved Earthquake's monster aura while keeping Hogan strong. While the crowd reacted energetically, the lack of a clean pinfall or submission left the finish feeling safe and slightly anticlimactic for a marquee encounter. This match highlighted the balance between storytelling, protecting characters, and delivering audience satisfaction, an area where WWF occasionally faltered on big PPVs. Finally, the Steel Cage main event saw the Ultimate Warrior defend the WWF Championship against Rick Rude. 10 intense minutes of high-risk maneuvers, suspenseful near escapes, and dramatic action unfolded. Warrior retained the title by escaping the cage, providing a proper climactic finish. The cage stipulation added stakes and tension, ensuring the audience experienced a definitive conclusion. This match successfully combined drama, athleticism, and spectacle, delivering the kind of satisfying ending expected from a PPV headliner and leaving the fans on a high note. Looking back, SummerSlam 1990 was a mix of high points and shortcomings. The tag team title change and the Steel Cage main event were definitive highlights, delivering storytelling, delivering stability of stats, drama, and clean finishes. Other matches, including quick undercard bouts, DQs, and the forfeit, felt like filler or missed opportunities. Pacing was uneven, with some matches rushed and others dragging. Had the undercard received more time, mid-card storylines been clearer, and quick finishes minimized, the show could have achieved far greater impact. Still, for what it delivered, high-risk spots, title changes, and a night of spectacle, SummerSlam 1990 remains a memorable chapter in WWF history, a mix of excitement, athleticism, and sheer entertainment, with heroes standing tall, belts changing hands, and chaos reigning in Philadelphia.
It's the Survivor Series!
Survivor Series 1990 slammed into Hartford on November 22nd at the Civic Center, a packed arena alive with chants, cheers, and anticipation. The night promised fast-paced action, unpredictable eliminations, and star-studded clashes. With teams of 4 and 5 battling it out under the elimination tag format, every pinfall, knockout, and alliance carried weight. While no championships were on the line, the presence of icons like Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Ted DiBiase, the Hart Foundation, and Rick Martel guaranteed a night of high-stakes drama, fierce rivalries, and non-stop in-ring chaos. The dark match warmed up the crowd as Shane Douglas squared off against Buddy Rose. Douglas secured the victory, giving the fans an early taste of athleticism and storytelling, setting the stage for the main card. The televised action then kicked off with a traditional elimination match featuring the Warriors, Ultimate Warrior, Texas Tornado, and Legion of Doom's Animal and Hawk against the Perfect Team, composed of Mr. Perfect and Demolition's Axe Smash and Crush. From the opening bell, the ring was a whirlwind of motion. Tags flew fast, big moves collided with precision, and early eliminations set a brisk pace. Axe went first, followed quickly by Smash and Crush, and the match became a tense duel between the veterans and the powerhouse faces. Texas Tornado fell to Perfect, leaving Warrior as the final competitor. Ultimate Warrior pinned Mr. Perfect cleanly, standing as the sole survivor. The bout showcased high energy and storytelling through eliminations. Though with the crowded ring, some sequences were harder to follow, and the chaos occasionally overshadowed individual moments of brilliance. The second match featured the $1 Million Team, Ted DiBiase, The Undertaker, Honky Tonk Man, and Greg Valentine, against the Dream Team, composed of Dusty Rhodes, Coco B. Ware, and the Hart Foundation's Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart. Right from the start, alliances and rivalries flared. Undertaker dominated with heavy strikes, DiBiase exploited every opportunity, and Honky Tonk Man applied methodical offense. Early eliminations swung back and forth, with Dusty Rhodes and Coco B. Ware exiting first. Neidhart and Valentine traded big moves before DiBiase pinned Neidhart, and eventually Undertaker was counted out. Ted DiBiase emerged as the sole survivor, demonstrating strategy, opportunism, and resilience. While the match delivered classic elimination drama, the pacing sometimes left individual contributions underappreciated, and with so many stars in the ring, the audience occasionally struggled to track every exchange. The third bout paired the Visionaries, Rick Martel, the Warlord, Hercules, and Paul Roma, against the Vipers, Jake Roberts, Jimmy Snuka, and the Rockers, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. The match delivered a mix of technical wrestling and high-flying spots. Martel and Warlord dominated early exchanges, while the smaller, agile Vipers tried to capitalize with quick counters and aerial maneuvers. Snuka eliminated Roma early, and near falls throughout the bout kept fans on edge. Ultimately, all four members of the Visionaries survived: Rick Martel, the Warlord, Hercules, and Paul Roma, achieving the first clean sweep 4-on-0 victory in Survivor Series history. The match flowed well, but the elimination order and crowded ring occasionally made the action difficult to follow, slightly muting the impact of individual sequences. Next, the Hulkamaniacs, Hulk Hogan, Jim Duggan, Big Boss Man, and Tugboat, faced the Natural Disasters, Earthquake, Dino Bravo, Haku, and the Barbarian. From the opening bell, the battle emphasized power moves and signature maneuvers. Hogan's charisma and Duggan's brawling energy contrasted with the sheer force of Earthquake and his allies. The eliminations came methodically. The Natural Disasters were taken out through a combination of teamwork and heroic saves. In the end, Hogan stood alone as the sole survivor, his resilience and ability to anchor the match clear. While the match delivered star-driven excitement, the final sequences were predictable, and some of the mid-match chaos diluted individual storytelling moments. The fifth match featured the Alliance, Nikolai Volkov, Tito Santana, and the Bushwhackers, Luke and Butch, against the Mercenaries, Sakat Slaughter, Boris Zhukov, and the Orient Express, Sato and Tanaka. The contest was a blend of brawling and technical exchanges. Volkov and Santana brought structure and calculated offense, while the Bushwhackers added chaotic, unorthodox energy. Despite short bursts of high action, the match moved quickly, with Tito Santana ultimately the sole survivor. The bout was functional and entertaining, but lacked the tension and narrative complexity of the earlier matches, serving more to maintain momentum on the card than to create a memorable highlight. The show culminated in a 3-on-5 Survivors handicap elimination match. Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, and Tito Santana faced off against Rick Martel, Paul Roma, Hercules, the Warlord, and Ted DiBiase. The matchup combined elements from prior bouts, putting the strongest survivors against a stacked team. Santana opened the action with quick strikes, agile dodges, and high-flying maneuvers, taking down the Warlord early with a flying forearm. The villains attempted to use their numbers advantage, isolating Santana and working together to wear down the heroes. Despite his determination and bursts of offense, Santana was eventually caught by Ted DiBiase and eliminated, leaving Hogan and Warrior to take full control of the match. Hogan and Warrior then unleashed a relentless onslaught, trading signature moves and high-impact maneuvers, including Warrior's running shoulder block and Hogan's big boot and leg drop combination. Hogan eliminated Paul Roma with a crushing leg drop, while DiBiase fell to Hogan's dominance. Martel, overwhelmed and frustrated, was counted out after leaving the ring. Warrior continued the assault, dodging attacks and hitting a powerful gorilla press followed by a splash to finally pin Hercules. The match showcased a dramatic back and forth with near eliminations, quick counters, and bursts of heroism from the faces. In the end, Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior stood tall, triumphant over the 5-man villain team. The finish highlighted their endurance, strength, and teamwork, giving the audience a definitive, satisfying conclusion. The crowd erupted as the two legendary heroes celebrated together, bringing the night to a high-octane and unforgettable close. Looking back, Survivor Series 1990 delivered exactly what the brand promised: multi-man elimination chaos, iconic wrestlers in action, and memorable moments of individual heroism. The dark match provided a warm-up, the first main card bouts built energy, mid-card matches showcased teamwork and strategy, and the final handicap match offered a satisfying conclusion. While some bouts were crowded and occasionally hard to follow, and certain sequences could have benefited from more clarity, the overall structure and outcomes were consistent with WWF's elimination tag tradition. Stars stood out, alliances formed and dissolved, and the audience was treated to a night where teamwork, endurance, and timing dictated victory. Survivor Series 1990 reinforced the appeal of large elimination matches, highlighting individual performers while celebrating the chaotic, high-energy ensemble nature of WWF's PPVs during this era.